What you are seeing and hearing is a brand new 5th generation RØDE NT1 studio condenser microphone. The NT1 is a great mic that RØDE has been reiterating ever since it first came out in the 90s. A couple quick things worth mentioning. RØDE did send me this microphone for free to try out, but they did not pay me. So I'll be sharing my honest opinions about what this microphone does, how well it does it, and what this means for the home studio producer community. The other thing is, if you'd like to skip ahead to where I test the mic with some instrumental recordings, you can find some timestamps listed in the video description. Over the years, RØDE has improved the sensitivity on these mics, evened out the frequency response, and decreased the self-noise, all while making them more affordable. But that's not why we're here today. Inside this 5th generation NT1 is a piece of technology that is so groundbreaking that I wonder if it might itself be a turning point in the design and functionality of home studio mics. Dual connectivity. That's right. You can connect this microphone to your interface or whatever else using your standard XLR cable, or you can just as easily connect it directly to your computer using a USB cable. Essentially, this is a new iteration of a decent large diaphragm condenser mic, the kind you would expect to find in a well-appointed home studio setup that can function like a standard large diaphragm condenser mic or like a USB condenser mic. This is the first mic of its kind. The dual connectivity piece is made possible by patent-pending proprietary technology, begging the question, was this mic sent back from the future to make it possible for newcomers to audio production to make decent-sounding stuff much more quickly and for less money? That question begs the question, have I been watching too much Ancient Alien content on YouTube? The answer to that question is yes. Anyway, back to the task at hand. In addition to the patent-pending proprietary dual connectivity, this mic features the same onboard preamp as the NT USB Plus, which is called the Revolution preamp. RØDE put that out in 2022. And honestly, it pains me to say, but I like the sound of it better than the preamp in my Scarlett 18i8. Here is a little comparison. Here is the microphone with the XLR input to my Scarlett 18i8 by Focusrite. Here is the 5th generation RØDE NT1 using the USB cable and the Revolution preamp. Here it is again, plugged into my interface through the XLR cable. Here once again is the RØDE NT1 using the Revolutionary preamp, which is on board, running through the USB cable directly into my computer. And finally, this is the last you will hear of this microphone going into my interface using the XLR cable. And I'll be sticking with the USB input for the rest of the video, which is a little frustrating because I have this big expensive interface over here, but the preamp on this mic really is that nice. So what is the point of dual connectivity? You can only connect one thing at a time, so why have the option of connecting to XLR and USB? At this point, I could bore you with a really long story about my process of acquiring gear when I was in my early 20s and how much money I spent that I could have avoided spending if I had just known more and thought long-term about the things that I was going to end up doing in my home studio. But I won't bore you with those details. Instead, I'll say that if you buy this mic, which is, as you can hear, a good sounding mic, it sounds pretty nice, then you don't have to have an interface right away. So if the only thing you would be using your interface for is a single condenser microphone, you could get this single condenser microphone, which is of decent quality. It sounds better than your standard USB only microphone. Then you don't have to worry about buying that interface and you'll save some money at first. Then eventually, when you do have an interface, if that's something that you eventually need, then you can still use this microphone with that interface. But what if you're like me now, in my early 30s with much more gear than I have any right to store in my small New York City apartment? This microphone will have a guaranteed spot in my arsenal because I know that if I keep it in my mobile setup, then I can potentially leave behind my small interface that I would take with me if I were trying to record on the road. So it's, you know, it's a good sounding mic, and it means that I get to leave something else behind. And that makes it particularly invaluable for someone who's trying to travel light with a minimal setup to do some light recording on the road. Okay, so that's probably enough of my philosophy on the RØDE NT1. At this point, I'm going to take out some instruments and see how the mic does with some varying dynamic ranges and some varying frequency ranges. So just like I've been doing with the rest of the video, I'm going to use very light compression, and that's it. I want to even out the sort of the amplitude of the video, but I'm not going to do anything in post-production, so that you can imagine what you would do in your own workflow given the signal that, that I'm including in the video. Alright, so there you have it. The RØDE 5th generation NT1 studio condenser microphone is both familiar and novel. It's familiar in that it is a reiteration of the same classic NT1 that's been around since the 90s, and it is novel in that the dual connectivity functionality on board has never been seen before in a home studio microphone, or at all. It's brand new technology. It sounds great, and it travels lighter than any other microphone of its quality, since bringing it along for a mobile setup means that you can leave the interface plugged in at home. You've heard this mic with my voice, and you've heard it with a handful of instruments, and so now I put the question to you, the viewer. What do you think of the sound of the microphone? Is it likely to find its way into your collection, or are you going to pass on this one? And finally, is dual connectivity a revolution in mic design, or is it something that's likely to be restricted to just a few mics as a passing fad? And so now we've reached the end of the video. If you have found it useful or entertaining, please let the algorithm know by liking, by commenting, by sharing the video. And then once you've done that, you can subscribe to the Producer Hive YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you know next time we put a video out. And finally, I welcome you to check out producerhive.com, which is a treasure trove of resources stretching back for years, with new stuff being added all the time. And I think that's all I have for you. My name's Noah. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.